And is it me or is it the system? By ever printing.
Morning councillors, morning CEO, directors, ladies and gentlemen. Let's acknowledge the traditional custodians of this wonderful place that we call home. In our valley, of course, that's the Iwi people who have represented a human footprint here for over 60,000 years. And as a council, as a community, when we are together, we acknowledge their traditional custodianship and honour their elders, past, present, and those emerging. Now, this council meeting is being streamed live, of course. It's being recorded and will be published in accordance with the council's standing orders. Welcome to our online audience, welcome to the members of the public gallery. I draw your attention to the live streaming of council meetings notice in the top right hand corner of the screen there. And we're required to tell you that if you speak here today, your vision and your voice will be recorded and published, and also that you'll be subject to legal action if any of the actions or comments that you make are deemed to be inappropriate or unacceptable. I'm sure that won't be so, but we're required to tell you that anyway. So I declare the meeting open. Thank you, councillors, for your attendance. Do we have anybody from clergy here today? Nobody from... So let us together seek a blessing on this meeting. Lord, help us to be strong, for our community depends on us. Help us to conduct ourselves in the spirit of truth and compassion. Guide our actions to deliver fair and reasonable outcomes. Bless our officers and staff. Watch over the people of our region. We ask this in the name of our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Nobody absent on council business. No apologies today. Condolences. Councillor Seymour.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to condolence with Kevin Chippy Hutchison. He was a volunteer Rural Fire Brigade at Finch Hatton. Chippy moved to Finch Hatton, where I was born when I was only a teenager. He got the name Chippy because he was a carpenter in the mill. And I have a letter here from the Commissioner, Greg Leach of QFIS. I'd just like to read out for you what Chippy got through all these years. It was great sadness to advise the loss of Kevin Chippy Hutchison, who passed away on the 20th of November after long illness. Chippy was serving at the time of his passing, having joined the Finch Hatton Rural Fire Brigade in '78. During his 44 years of service, Chippy was Brigade's first officer for 26 years. Although he passed on the baton of leadership in 2013, he remained active in the brigade, particularly with the station build and the equipment and training officer. Chippy was also the second officer of the Morani Group since 2010. Chippy was awarded the National Medal in 2005, the Diligent and Ethical Service Medal in second class in 2009, and was awarded an Australian Day Award in 2014. Widely known as Mr. Dependable, Chippy was described as the backbone of the Finch Hatton Brigade, giving a tremendous amount of time to promote, to protect and build its resilience. His loss will be deeply felt in our community and the wider Mackay area in the Central Region District. On behalf of QFIS, I extend my deepest sympathies to his family, friends and colleagues. Greg Leach, Commissioner QFIS.
Thank you, Councillor Seymour. Council will record the condolences. And of course, I think all councillors will probably be in attendance on Monday at the funeral of Terry Hayes. As has been said in the media, we've lost one of our favourite sons in this community. Approaching the age of 97, Terry has been one of the most influential in terms of his recognition of the history of the Mackay region. It's nothing in terms of sport or in military service or indeed the history of the region across the board. Terry couldn't answer. He's been the go-to person for a very long time. And we saw him on the 11th of November at the Remembrance Day Parade. And it was very, very sad to hear of his passing. So I know from Council's perspective, we will endorse a Council-led offer of condolence to Terry's extended family. And as I said, I would expect most of us would be at the funeral on Monday. The funeral's at 11 o'clock on Monday at St Joseph's. Any further condolences, Councillor?
Worship, I just wanted to agree with Councillor Seymour. Having spent the last couple of years doing a lot of work up in the Finch Hatton area, I have had the privilege of meeting Chippy, and I totally attest to all the comments that Councillor Seymour's just said, he was a much loved character in the community up there, and he was a great community person.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Any further condolences? Thanks, councillors. Any conflicts of interest to declare tonight? No? Okay. Confirmation of the minutes. Let's move on to the minutes. They've been circulated and are part of the agenda of this meeting. Would somebody like to confirm the minutes? Councillor Bonaventure moves. Councillor Green seconds. Those in favour? Any against? Motion is carried. In terms of the outcomes of that minute, of those minutes, they're also included in the agenda. There's nothing to report on those. Let's move on to the correspondence then. And the first issue of correspondence will be those of the Mayor and the CEO. Adoption of council policies. So the policies that we're looking at are 105, 62, 99 and 18. They've been attached to your agenda. Are there questions? No questions. Would somebody like to move the adoption of the council policies? As mentioned, Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor Hassan. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'll be very brief, but there's a couple of new policies in there for us, and in particular the museum's collection policy. This policy has come about because council has really taken ownership of the museums. Over many, many years we've seen our volunteer organisations running and manning the museums and attending to the collection of items, but now the council has sort of, I suppose, taken over that, still in working with the volunteers, and they provide a much needed service in assisting us, but the actual policy now sits with council. We look at our environmental sustainability policy, quite timely that comes to our council meeting. Very relevant subject, and it's good to see that council is keeping pace with things that as they're changing. Our sponsorship and entertainment and hospitality policies are there as essential guides for how that we carry out that business.
Thanks, Councillor May. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Put the motion, those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. The Strategic Financial Report at 11.1.2 for October. CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the end of month report for October shows that we continue to report a favourable variance in our year-to-date budget. So while revenue is tracking slightly below forecast for the period, operating expenses are also tracking below budget, with employee benefits being the main contributor here, given the number of vacancies that we continue to carry across our workforce. Capital expenditure is also tracking well, with more than 99% of the forecast year-to-date budget currently expended, though I would like to note that we are still managing ongoing project delivery risk with price increases, supply chain issues and labour shortages still impacting us. I'd like to note that the outcomes of the September budget review, as approved at the last ordinary council meeting, are not yet included in the data presented to you today, just given the timing of when the reports were produced. However, will be in the next strategic financial report that will be presented to you in the new year. The department financial reports are also included in this particular financial report, again given the timing of when the reports had to be produced, but they'll be back in their usual place in each of the directorate updates in the new reporting period in the new year. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, CEO. Questions for the CEO on the Strategic Financial Report for October? No questions. Somebody like to move the adoption? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor May. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. Look, I just wanted to pull a few things out of the report. Page 117, I want to agree with the CEO in relation to the operating revenue being slightly down, but our expenses are tracking well. On page 119, our areas of concern haven't really changed much. It's pretty much the same for us, but obviously construction resources continue to be difficult to source, and this is certainly having a negative impact on our capital program. On page 129, as the majority of our assets are roads, drains, water and sewage network, we've got to focus on our long-term forecast for the maintenance and upgrades of those renewals as our assets. And the work in progress for October alone is just in the order of 166 million from business case to complete. Page 131, I know the council's cash flow for the operating period of October. We are below our original budget, but it's still early days for this year. And then on 132, I see that our asset ratios are constantly below target. We all know why this is. It's because we're trying to get so much data together to be able to get this process to work, and I look forward to the day that we can start to see results with that. All in all, our first quarter for the financial year, we're travelling okay, and I do thank the Director and staff for the report. Thank
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor May, speaking
Thank you
for.
very much, Worship. Just to sort of reiterate what Councillor Jones has said, that we're in a very strong financial position as a council, and it's great to see our interest received actually exceeding our budget targets, which has not been the case for many, many months. $29.5 million worth of council projects in our capital area have been expended to date. And if we have a look at our balance sheet, we are very, very strong in our balance sheet. We've got $3.9 million worth of assets with only... Billion, sorry. With only 197 million of liabilities. So giving this the total equity of council assets and community assets for $3.7 billion. So quite strong. Our portfolio investment of our cash is $188.5 million, and that's invested across a number of financial institutions. I think the other thing to pull out of this report is our rate collection and our rate arrears. So you'll see from the table there that there is around about $10.3 million owing in rates, of which 6.2 of that is in the current financial year. So really our rate arrears is tracking very well. And if you look at the graph there in the trends across Category 5 councils such as ours is, we are well below the average of the rate arrears. So that's a good place to be. Our borrowings too is really at an all-time low of around about $63 million. So the last term of the last financial year, council made that decision to pay off a significant loan. So that has reduced our loan liabilities and borrowings. And of course, there is no forecast borrowings in this current financial year. So I think all in all, we are in a very good position financially. It's one that the officers track very closely. Councillor Jones outlined the risks that we're currently monitoring, and we only just seen in the last couple of weeks how COVID has played a part again in our business in having a huge number of people off sick, and therefore we had to be adaptable as to how we manage that. So that, along with the lack of human resources and of course the lack of materials and the cost of materials, we'll see further in our agenda where we've had tenders that have come in way above what the council budget was planned for. So it's a constant job of monitoring and adjusting, and I really want to congratulate the staff on a great job.
Yeah, thanks very much, Councillor May. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Bonaventura speaking for.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, just in relation to those overdue rates, I think we also need to bear in mind that that figure, which appears a little bit higher than it normally is, also includes the fact that our pension discounts will be showing there as overdue and aren't due till December. Right. So that will automatically drop that substantially. So yeah, so it's in an even better position than the council may suggest, and so we are in a very good position.
Great, thanks very much, Councillor Bonaventura. Any other speakers? CEO, I'd like to say congratulations. We know how tough a year it's been, and to the directors who've dug deep to be able to forecast now a $500,000 surplus at the end of this financial year at this stage is great going. Keep it up. For the motion, those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Capital Works. Moving into our reports now. 11.2.1, the Capital Works program for October review. Director.
Thank you, Worship. We had no lost time injuries during October, which was another good result on the safety aspect, but we will be reporting in November a lost time injury. The full extent of that in terms of days won't be known until the staff member has a final assessment on the 5th of December. So that's not good news, but we'll track that and that'll be reported in the November or possibly December report. Just in terms of ongoing capital spend tracking, we're almost 30 million expended to the end of October 22, representing about 26.5% of our annual budget. So we're not going too bad in that respect, but we are continuing to focus on prioritisation of our projects, and particularly designs and getting them design ready for the last 2 quarters of the financial year. and we will be adjusting that in December budget review. Projects completed in month, we've got 7 completed with a couple of others that are practically complete and technically open to the public, but we're still waiting on some final contract tie-ups to finalise those projects. In all, the team are tracking 700 projects through all phases of design, business case and delivery through the year, so there's still quite a lot to manage. Notable amongst those, the Mackay Waterfront Riverside Link project, and that package of work being delivered by Woolhams is progressing quite well. Lots of work happening on site. I was down there again yesterday to have a look at progress, and they are projecting an opening or a completion date sometime in late December. So that's all going well with weather and a few other things. That's tracking well. Northern Beaches Community Hub, we've started just recently the detailed design of stage 1A and 1B, which is again good. That's all the buildings program. And of course the civils are designed already and ready to go. And on the mountain bike project, we had a successful public meeting to update the community in Finchatten there on the 13th of November, which went quite well. Development approvals for the mountain bike are actually progressing well also, and be ready for next year's delivery program. And we've got a briefing coming to council, of course, on the 7th of December on the mountain bike project. Just notable amongst our programs, design services, we are tracking a potential risk to our delivery of designs at the moment. So one of our consultants, Oricon, has had a security breach. That means their server is inaccessible to a lot of their staff. We've been tracking this for a few weeks. We don't know the full extent at the moment, but we can't get access to some of our designs that they're working on for us at the moment. So we'll continue to track that. There are a couple of projects that may affect, it's starting to worry us a little bit, but we'll get a full report shortly. Just one more thing, the survey team has picked up, we've had it already for a while in the parks area, but they've handed it over to our survey team to manage on behalf of the business, which is a drone. So it's a survey equipment and software attached to a drone, and that service means that we can do a lot of work, particularly in our civil ops, quarries and waste areas, and also assisting inspections with parks through that survey team a lot quicker than we've been able to do in the past, and develop quantities for those reports a lot faster. So that's a great news story for that survey team. So that's the report for this month, Your Worship, and happy to take questions.
Thank you, Director. Questions for the Director, Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Worship. Just on page 152, I wondered if the Director could let me know in relation to the pie chart that shows 2 projects have been cancelled. Of course, they were proved to be on our CapEx list and now dropped off. I'm just curious what they might be.
Director?
Yeah, Your Worship, thank you. One of those is a decommissioning of the playground in Serena, in Anzac Square.
So we're now not decommissioning.
We're now not going to get rid of that because it ties into playground equipment that is being designed as part of another project in Serena, and of course we don't want to remove that playground until we know where that project's at and when it's going to go in. So the two tied together. That's the only reason it says it's cancelled. It's not really cancelled. It will happen at some stage when we know what playground's happening and where in Serena to replace it. So the other one was curb and channel work at Bakers Creek. And that work is now, again, not cancelled, but we've cancelled that project line item because we're combining that piece of work with other work in Bakers Creek. So it's still, the work goes ahead, but on our list, it appears as if the project's cancelled because we've removed the line item.
Okay.
So the work's actually still going ahead as part of another package.
Okay. Thank you, Worship.
All right, thank you. Further questions? Councillor Bonaventura?
Just on page 51 in the table of the top 5 variances for our capital expenditure, I note delays to the Paget Depot admin building due to additional structural works required. So my question is, do you think this will affect the overall cost and the completion date?
Director?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. We do believe there's been a slight delay in that report getting work done, and therefore the staff being able to move back into the Paget Depot. We've got a date now for that move back into the Paget Depot. I believe it's mid-December. So that's still going ahead. So there has been a slight delay in terms of time. The budget overall is not significantly affected. There might be a small overrun as a result of that structural work and the structural report that's needed as part of that. But we'll report on that next month if there is a slight overrun.
Further question?
Certainly.
And just on page 52, I note, and it's good to see, the contract for the bus interchange on Mangrove Road has been let. And I believe they may have started work, but what is the time frame for completion?
Director.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, as everyone knows, there's been a bit of difficulty with that project getting off the ground and getting tenderers interested in that work. We now have a first package of work, a civils package being done by RoadTech themselves. That's the work that you see happening there now. And they plan to actually finish that package by December, so before Christmas. At worst, it'll be early in January, but they're finishing that work soon. But that won't mean the bus interchange is completed, because there's still a full package of structures to occur as part of that project, which we still have to put out to tender yet. So we're expecting that sort of the third quarter next year.
That far away, third quarter next year.
Yeah, that sort of, by the time we tender that work, we hopefully can get a contractor to do that work, and we get all those structures in. So that's the buildings package, basically.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor May.
Just a follow-on question from that, so that there's not an anticipation that that's going to be used until the total job is finished?
My understanding is not, although the disruption that you see there now will be cleared up, obviously, when the civil works are cleared, so the traffic will, you know, back to a reasonable state through the Christmas New Year period. But no, it won't be used as a massive change unless those structures are in. That's my understanding, but we can get clarification.
Right, thanks.
Thanks, Director. Any further questions? No further questions? Would somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Jones moves, second by Councillor Hassan. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. Just two little things that I wanted to pull out of this report for speaking. One was the Pioneer River North Bank Shared Park. It is really, really looking great, and I'm hoping there will be that time where I'll be able to dust off my bike and have a bit of a family day riding. I think it's going to be a great bike network available in Mackay. The other item on page 162, Pioneer Valley are getting some new culverts at the moment. I have to say, when I saw this, Your Worship, and saw the guys in the photos, you know, putting all down that concrete in the heat that we've been dealing with of late. My husband works in a workshop. He comes home absolutely wet through, but he's in a workshop. These guys are outside under the sun, and I can just only imagine how hot it is for them. So I just wanted to basically acknowledge that and ask the Director to pass on certainly my thanks, I'm sure everybody's thanks for the time that they do spend in the hot sun at this time of year for the work that they're completing. And they were, of course, at Owens Creek and Bolden Road. Bolden Road, not Bolden Road.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor Bonaventura speaking for.
Thank you. I just, on the photos on page 55, thank you, Director. It was good to see that the Survey Office summary report and the fact that the team was up to their knees in water to get the survey correct. Having had discussions over a long period of time with landowners in that area about the poor drainage and about whether council can find some way of solving that, I'm very pleased to see that they were out there and have done a good job. I look forward to the positive outcomes and see what comes of that into the future. Obviously, it's not something that's going to happen straight away, but I look forward to seeing what's going to happen. The other one was the completion of the $3 million wall and street drain. Now, this will enhance drainage in that area, reduce flooding, and obviously mosquito harbourage. And it definitely will be well received by the residents because it's another area that they have been asking for improvements in there for quite a long time, as you well know, Your Worship. So thank you, good report.
Thanks very much, Councillor Bonaventura. Are there any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion then. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Move on to development services. The development services review report for October. Rachel.
Thank you, Worship. I'm pleased to present the Development Services Monthly Review Report for October. So highlights for the month are as follows. A range of activities were held for Bird Week at the Mackay Regional Botanic Gardens with some special themed items for sale in the Visitor Centre and a Best Bird of the Botanic Gardens competition. The winner was the Willie Wagtail, and the Laughing Kookaburra and Australian Magpie followed closely behind. Round 2 of the Small Business Mentoring Program has been completed and the final report from the mentors Farrelly Group has been received. 8 established businesses and startups successfully completed the program. program aimed to assist participants develop their businesses and take advantage of the economic opportunities arising from the Pioneer Valley Mountain Bike Trails project. The graduation and networking events for round 1 and 2 mentees was held on the 27th of October. Initial meetings have been held with a group of Mackay artists to investigate the opportunity of setting up an artist trail in the Mackay region. A working group has been established, commenced the formation of an association, and meetings will take place with Council's development, planning and engineering team regarding development approval requirements that may apply. It's expected that the new artists group will be formally established and ready to commence work on the trail in the new year. It was a successful opening to the Women's Big Bash League 22-23 season in Mackay, with 5 matches held over 5 days, and some WBBL broadcast records were broken. Thursday's season opener, featuring Brisbane Heat and Sydney Sixers, was viewed by a national audience of 283,358 people, making it the second highest viewed season opener in WBBL history. In total, 5 games were broadcast nationally across 7 and Fox Cricket, plus on radio through the ABC TV. Serena Sugarshed held its second annual Halloween event on the 28th of October, with many free and bookable activities, including paint popcorn sessions with bottle tops and brushes, and a special cocktail masterclass for adults. This was a successful event designed to provide a safe and engaging environment for local children wanting to experience Halloween and attract residents to the facility. And finally, the Serena Sugarshed is thrilled to win 2 gold awards at the 2022 Mackay Isaac Tourism Awards for excellence in food tourism and most outstanding contribution by a volunteer group. A huge thank you goes to the Sugarshed staff and volunteers for their hard and dedicated work to provide visitor excellence every day. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Director. Questions for the Director, Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Worship. I just have one. I've mentioned this topic on a number of occasions. The desilting project. Just wondering where we're at with it.
Okay, Director.
Yes, thank you, Worship. We're working on a project plan at the moment with a view to getting obtaining some budget in the 23-24 financial year to progress the project.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Angler.
Page 196, the Economic Development Team is supporting the delivery of the Company Director's course coordinated by RIN. Is this financial or in-kind support?
Director.
Thank you, Worship. I believe it's financial, but I'll have to take that on notice. I'm not
Okay, CEO. Okay.
Follow-up question.
Right. Yes.
Resource Centre of Excellence support the operation of the RCOE is continuing and includes the development of investment collateral. What's that mean?
Director.
Yes, thank you, Worship. Previously, there was a briefing held where the Resource Centre of Excellence asked for some financial support and in-kind support also towards the development of like a business case prospectus type document. So that's what that relates to.
Business case? Thank you.
Further questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Angler.
Page 200. We're promoting the Zonta International Women's Day and the RIN International Women's Day at the MEC for March next year. Are they on that list because we deliver financial or in-kind support to both of those?
Director.
Thank you, Worship. That the RIN, we definitely provide financial support, and Zonta, again, I'd have to check, but I would assume it's the same, but I'll have to take that second part on notice.
Yeah, so Mayor, my questions to the point is that I would like to know what's being spent with who, and
What's
if we're
the
not,
quantum?
yeah, and if we're not delivering the same amount to both, why not?
Okay. All right, we'll take that on notice.
Yes.
Thank you. Further questions? No further questions. Would somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Green moves, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, recently a contingent of council officers and councillors, including myself, visited North East Tasmania as part of a sustainable trails and conference and research trip, and it was obvious Derby, a global mountain biking mecca, has almost become a victim of its own success. And Mackay Regional Council has taken learnings from places like Derby to ensure that from the very start land use conflicts and community impacts are minimised, while also maximising the facilitation of appropriate commercial opportunities through careful and thoughtful planning and in the design phase of the Pioneer Valley Mountain Bike Trail project. And as we know, this has included the very large body of work that is the Mackay Region Planning Scheme Major Amendment 3. This currently sits with the state for the state interest review. After the completion of the state interest review, the community will have their chance to make comments on the proposed amendment during the community consultation phase of this process. Which brings me to the latest piece of work by Council, which is the development of a business case for the first public realm placemaking and wayfinding project in the township of Finch Hatton. The Finch Hatton Town Centre Infrastructure Upgrades project focuses on Mackay Youngala Road and Anzac Parade and will produce concept plans for the improvement of safety and connectivity for pedestrians and cyclists moving throughout the township between high activity areas, and also includes activation in these public spaces. It's my personal opinion that Mackay Regional Council is leading the way on this project, and one day we'll see people visiting us on study tours to learn the best practice methods of establishing a mountain biking mecca. And on the Artist Trail, following on from the Director's comments, many in the Mackay region will know Margaret Burgess for her work with the Artist Collective at Canelands. She is a visionary creative, always looking for ways to promote the many talented artists in our region. So when her latest project, the Artist Studio Trail, applied to the RADF Committee for funding earlier this year, the significant opportunities of this project to not only support our region's artists, but also to attract visitors and grow a meaningful tourism product were really apparent. So the initial meetings have been held with a large interested group of Mackay artists, some upwards of 40 artists, which has been great, to investigate the opportunity for setting up an artist trail in the Mackay region. And council officers from Community and Client Services, Economic Development and our planning teams have been really involved and supportive right from the very get-go. It's not too late for other artists to join, and if they can reach out to Margaret or council for further information. The trail will highlight artists' studios and their work, but will also promote where to stay, where to eat, what else to do while they're visiting the trail. So it creates a holistic package that showcases our region. And it's an exciting concept. I look forward to the formal establishment in the new year of the association, ready to get work underway in 2023. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Green. Speaker against. Any other speakers? Councillor Townsend speaking for.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to highlight City Heart Fridays, which have been well received by both our community and the City Heart traders, and it certainly breathed new life into our City Heart. More and more traders are opening their doors on Friday evenings and joining in the festive atmosphere of the night. And I'd like to let our public know our next event will be Friday the 2nd of December, which is a perfect time to visit our fantastic city centre traders for Christmas gift shopping while supporting your local traders. I've attended a numerous amount of these events, and unfortunately I do go home with several bags in tow, so I'm doing my bit to generate some income within the City Heart. And our City Heart and Mackay Waterfront team is currently working on several small-scale events in the lead up to the festive season, and this is going to be in partnership with local businesses. So I'd like the public to keep an eye out for these festive events throughout December. I'd also like to add on to the Director on the Serena Sugar Shed. They can boast a 43% increase in visitation compared to the same time last year in October. This was despite October traditionally being a quiet time of the year and resulted in $93,380 revenue for the month. And the staff from the Serena Sugar Shed returned to the Good Food and Wine Show in Brisbane during October, which was a great opportunity to showcase their products to almost 20,000 who attended the 3-day event. There was significant brand recognition for the Sugar Shed from visitors who have either visited during their travels or viewed the recent Weekender segment on TV. I won't say here that maybe some of our Brisbaneites do enjoy their alcohol, but I can say that stocks of the chocolate Turkish Delight and the Lime Noi were sold out during that event. And of course, congratulations to the Serena Sugar Shed. They took out their 2 gold awards. So huge congratulations to the team and very well deserved.
Thanks, Councillor Townsend. Any other speakers? Councillor Bonaventura speaking for.
On point, thank you, Your Worship. And I've mentioned it before, and it's just really to do with the value of approved construction works. And look, for the month of October, about $5.3 million. But, and that gives us a total sitting at around that $55 million mark. And the reason I mention that is it is now equal to our best year, which is 2020, where we were sitting at about that $55 million mark at the end of the year. So we are there with 2 months to go, and I just think that's a very good result for our region. It just shows the strength of our economy within the region at the moment. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Bonaduce. Are there any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion then. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. So 11.3.2. Vegetation vandalism. This is an extremely significant case at Ball Bay. I think the report speaks for itself. But Director, do you need to add anything to this?
Thanks, Your Worship. No, I don't think so. I think it is a fairly comprehensive report. Again, it's disappointing that we're seeing this occurring. This was a very significant instance of vegetation vandalism, and yeah, happy to take any questions.
Just disgusting, really. But are there any questions of the Director around this report? No questions. Would somebody like to move the report's adoption then? Councillor Townsend moves, Councillor Englert seconds. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is yet another act of blatant vandalism which defies logic and care for the community you live in. Random acts from nature can be dealt with, but this is not random. The person or persons responsible for this willful vegetation vandalism had to think this through and then act upon their thoughts. While we use the term vandalism, in this case the damage is actually criminal damage to the community's property, which is a serious offence. Every case of tree vandalism costs ratepayers. The cost to the community in this instance will be more than $6,000. This is the cost for investigation, signage, replacement and remediation. So what does an extremely significant category mean for the area vandalised in the front of 23 Bureau Street, Ball Bay? It means 25 trees, which includes the removal or complete removal of some and the extensive trimming of others. I have the photos in front of me here, and it sickens me to see the blatant disregard for the environment in which we and you, the perpetrator, live. It means a replanting of 3 for 1 trees, which equates to 75 new plants, installation of a new billboard sign, media release to the community and continual monitoring of the site. Someone knows who they are. This is a small community. And I'd like to encourage anyone who has any information to please report to our council officers.
Yeah, thanks very much, Councillor Townsend. Speaker against. Any other speakers? Councillor May speaking for.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I just really want to reiterate Councillor Townsend's words. This is extremely disappointing. We have had a number of these incidents this year, and you just cannot understand that nobody's seen anything. When you look at the photographs and you see the damage that has been done, you would think in a community such as Ball Bay that somebody would have seen something. So here we go again. We're tasked with replanting that vegetation. We're tasked with putting up a sign to deter people from doing that again. But you would think, some community ownership, community pride is what needs to be happening in our community to make sure that we as responsible adults and responsible landowners, we take responsibility for that, and we ask our people out there in the community to please report it to council. You can do that unanimously, that sounds good. You can do it anonymously so that there is no comeback on anybody raising the alarm to say, this is happening now. Our officers can go and gather the data and gather the evidence they need to make some prosecutions.
Thanks. Yeah, Councillor May. Any other speakers? Councillor Englert speaking for.
Thank you, Worship. This looks to have taken a couple of hours to do. There's a big pile of shrubbery put on the council side of the fence there as well, and so the fact that nobody's seen who's done this is beyond me. What's happened here is you can make the assumption, but it's pretty obvious that somebody's gone to improve their view for themselves without taking into account that the reason those trees are there are to stop significant erosion. This community will come to council in 20 years if we don't maintain that journal system. That community will come to council and ask the ratepayers of Midge Point, Kamala, Morani, Youngala, Mackay to pay for a new beach to be put back in there. So that community needs to assist council in working out what's going on in this situation, as well as holding the journal system together. From the photos you can tell that there's the first hump in the journal system, then a divot, then it goes back under the trees. Those trees are required for turtle nesting. Those trees reduce the temperature of the sand, the turtles, when they put their nests in that divot there, and without those trees in place to provide that tree, those nests will probably just cook. So council's going to put a big sign up there, you've lost your new view, and we're going to put trees in there 3 times what there was before that. So it's beyond me, how foolish people who do this are, that they don't get it yet, that whatever they think they're doing to get a view, they've got it for 3 weeks, and we're putting a dirty great billboard up so they can't have it again. Waste of time.
Thanks very much, Councillor England. And well spoken, councillors. I think people will actually forget the fact that during the term of last council, we spent over $3 million of ratepayers' money in restoring 2 beaches, which were completely washed away because there was absolutely no tunal system protecting them. And so that's what we're on about. That's what the state's on about. And this officer's recommendation that council notes the extremely significant tree and vegetation damage that has occurred at Ball Bay and takes the actions that are outlined in those 5 points there. I think that's what we need to do with the new signage, which is a little bit more blatant than the pretty signs that we've been putting up. So I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Let's move on to our ECI reports for the month of October. The first ECI report, Transport and Drainage Director.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just starting with safety, we actually had an increase in safety incidents for the month, so 16 recorded, so reviewing the cause of those. But please can say our asset management team actually achieved a bonus 36 months LTI recognition during that period as well. We've just completed our engagement survey, so at Civil Ops we had sessions with all staff, so looking to take the learnings from that and obviously looking what we can do to implement actions to get improvements the next time we do that. A bit of a focus on emergency management, so we've had a new manager come in and a new superintendent role, so just reacquainting ourselves with emergency management principles and what needs to be prepared in case we do have an event coming up. Pleasing to see the heavy patching work is progressing well and due to be finished in November. We'll note in there that we're going to trial a new product, which is a AGT crack mat, which is supposed to go over pavement where we're seeing some wear and potholes, and hopefully that prevents blowouts when we have rain. So interested to see how that goes going forward. Works of Queensland funding has obviously been a focus on our rural roads and unsealed roads. A little bit behind based on resourcing, but looking to obviously bring some contractors on to continue to pursue that. Doing work at the moment at Cod Beach with some removal of tidal sand and silt build up in preparation for the upcoming wet season. And asset management has had a bit of a minor restructure, and we've allocated some more resources there, so that's the market there, and hopefully they'll continue to be able to support our asset areas and manage our work going forward.
Thanks so much, Director. Questions for the Director, Councillor Mann?
I do have 2.
Yes.
So the report talks about the results of the employee engagement survey being delivered to the program, and there were some common themes. So I wondered what the common themes were and what actions will be taken to address those.
Director.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. There's probably different layers to that, Councillor. So obviously at an ELT and SLT, there's some leadership focus around that, and then we sort of cascade that down to directorate and program areas. So I think Civil Ops, there's a few areas, but it's mainly about just getting our senior leaders out there and actually listening to staff, and then implementing some of the things that we say we're going to do within the required time frame. So really some probably simple steps to see it easy enough, but I will certainly refocus on those.
Second question.
Yeah, I do. In terms of safety, so there were 7 safety interactions undertaken, but given the number of incidents, including asset damage, should there be more safety interactions?
Director.
Yes, Your Worship. So safety interactions is just one way we're obviously getting out there from a leadership point to obviously talk to our staff. We still have obviously our safety advisors out there as well. So yeah, certainly I think, and that flows on to the engagement surveys about trying to have more visibility out there. You don't necessarily have to have a safety interaction to be able to go out and talk to staff. So certainly something we're trying to focus on to make sure we have that visibility out there with staff. I mean, in some of these instances, obviously, there seems to be a bit of a pattern, so we're
it's occurring mainly on our side, so not in the high-speed environment, so some of that's care that they're just trying to refocus staff around those issues.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Your Worship. A comment and a question. The comment was just based around what the Director just said about the work being undertaken in the Cothole area. I know that there'll be some particular residents down there pleased to know that that work is being undertaken just before Christmas. But my question really is around page 225 under Asset Management, where we talk about the laboratory rollout is now on hold. I'm assuming it's due to the lack of staff that we have because of the situation we're in our town, in not being able to get enough staff. So I just wanted some extra info on that.
Okay. Director.
Yeah, again, Your Worship, yeah, exactly that. So obviously, with the vacancies we currently see in the organisation, there's time that we have a whole project. So in this case, it's simply just we don't have the resources in our assets for lab team with current vacancies. Obviously, we're out to market, we can fill those roles, the projects will look to pick up in the new year. And I agree, it's good to see the Cothole works going, and hopefully we hear some positive feedback
That
from
would
the
be
community
nice.
about that.
Thank you, Worship.
Absolutely, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Mello.
On the bottom of page 216, well-performing drainage works, dug up shallow buried Telstra cable. This is a bit of a personal bugbear of mine. Some of those cables I've seen laying on the surface of the ground for years on end. One would think all our staff are maintaining drains. If a Telstra cable should be buried deep enough in a drain situation that that we don't hit it. What worries me is that a staff member that hits a cable like that, there's obviously going to be a certain amount of stress upon them. I hit a cable sort of thing. But my question is, do Telstra take any form of responsibility for this? Like payment for repairs, is that on us? Or, if the cable's buried or sitting on the service, should we be liable, and are we liable?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, again, and Councillor Valley. Yeah, this is a great question. I think it's an ongoing issue. Certainly, if the cable is buried and even if it doesn't have minimal cover, then generally Telstra do seek cost repairs for that. Where they might have been doing repairs and it sits on the surface, I don't believe that they do seek it in those cases. But it's an ongoing issue for us, obviously, across our region. So especially where we don't have really good data and the installation is probably not of the standards you would normally expect from the installation of where we're going now.
Councillor Mello.
My subsequent question is, should there not be a standard that Telstra perform to? And if we hit a cable where, it's buried in an ad hoc fashion, well below the standard that should be expected, should we not contest that?
Again, through your worship. Ideally that would be the case, but I mean, if they default back to council, we'll have lots of infrastructure that might have been placed in a historical viewpoint that doesn't meet a current standard. So certainly anything going in now should meet the appropriate standards in relation to depth and location. But unfortunately, we're dealing with a lot of historical issues here. Obviously, it would be good if we could get some of those to be repaired and installed at the appropriate depth, but that's not what we're seeing now.
Thank you.
Okay. Further questions? No further questions. Would somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Townsend moves, seconded by Councillor Hassan. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Your Worship. It was concerning to see in this report that there were 2 incidents involving the general public, which could have resulted in serious injuries. One was a vehicle speeding through a work site, which sideswiped a council vehicle, and the other was a truck who had to swerve off the road to avoid vehicles stopped by traffic control at a work site. I'd just like to remind the public to be vigilant when there are works in progress around our community. Slow down and take care so that you and our employees arrive home safely to your families at the end of every day. Our maintenance activities throughout October have been extensive. Heavy patching is progressing as planned and should be completed in November. I was interested to read about this new product, Crack Mat, and Director, you'd be happy to know I actually Googled it and had a little read about it. I'm not an expert, but you can ask me a question later. But the best thing is that it's going to improve the life of the repair, approximately 5 to 7 years. So this is going to provide a long-term solution to the problem of potholes. Cleaning of Mackay signs is in the planning stage and it is expected to be completed by the end of the month, weather permitting. And drainage maintenance remains a high priority for the upcoming wet season. Our drainage maintenance teams have been working in the Paget and Bucasia areas. Unfortunately, council has been impacted by the labour shortage in our area and we've had to engage temporary labour hire resources to assist in the delivery, and we anticipate that they will be retained until the new year to mitigate current vacancies.
Thanks, Councillor Townsend. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.4.2, the ECI report for October on waste. Is it waste?
Waste.
Well, not wrong. It's waste.
Call me out, I'm going to talk about water, but happy to talk about waste. So just on safety incidents, there were two incidents aligned to contractors there, but again, pleased to say the Waste Services program itself has achieved its bonus 36-month LTI-free period. So well done to those team. Hogan pocket tonnages continue to be a little bit lower than expected, so we're still seeing that variability month to month, so it's a little bit hard to get a read on that. In relation to the incredible tip shops, so 197 tonnes of material were sold. The dump vouchers have just started again for the new period, so an opportune time to obviously use those leading up into our wet season. In relation to bin pickups, so 265,000 were picked up and 37 new bin services for the month, so an incredible effort gets done there in relation to our contractor JJ Richards. In down product to our MRF decreased slightly, so there is some commodity prices, and obviously with the fuel pricing going up, that is causing some issues for our contractors, some of the material coming out of the MRF, so we'll continue to watch and see from there. And probably highlight that we did our biannual bin audit in August and some of the data from that, so pleasing to see that 70% of households are presenting their bins with no contamination, but it obviously means that 30% obviously are. So still a bit of a focus there to do with our community. There is some ongoing issues with some properties in that area. Obviously, and then with our normal general waste bin, there's 18% of those that are showing that there is recyclables being put into that bin. Some of the highest contamination levels that we probably already talk about are plastic bags, soft plastics, and obviously putting recycling in bags. So if it's placed in bags and have appropriate recycling, obviously when it gets to our MRF, that can't be sort of pulled out. Other than that, happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Director. Questions for the Director? Councillor Mann.
So in the overview of the report it says there was 2 safety incidents, but further down in the report it says there was 1.
Right. Director. Got better.
Yeah, I'll just check that then. I'm assuming that was just an error.
Further questions for the Director? Somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Hassan moves, seconded by Councillor Jones. Okay. Councillor Hassan.
Thank you, Worship. Well, we note that waste services is a really large and important part of Council's business, so it is pleasing to note there were no lost time injuries related to Council staff and 2 but maybe 1 incident for the month. We'll get that confirmed. Either way, that's a very minor number for such a huge department that also has a large amount of contractors related. The contractors completed over 265,000 bin lifts for the month and only 21 bins were missed during October, so that's a great result and a reflection of the great work that's carried out in this sector by our staff and contractors. Community education activities have really stepped up this month, and Bruce, our waste education officer, is a very passionate man in this area and he's been very busy. So there was our War on Waste style bin audits conducted at Eden State School, and the feedback on these is these are really great opportunity for our school students to participate, just see what can be taken out of the bins that they're currently just throwing in. So good opportunity for primary school students particularly. There was a composting talk delivered to 70 students at St Francis Xavier Catholic Primary School, and then tours of our materials recovery facility were provided to Dundalk State School, Northview State School, St Mary's Catholic Primary School and Seaforth State School, with over 190 students attending those sessions.
It's also great to see waste education being provided to our older residents. So during the month there was a recycling talk presented to 30 residents of the Eagle Mount Retirement Resort, and members of our waste services team attended the Seniors Expo at the showgrounds, and approximately 180 engagements with the public were provided at that event as well. And finally, Bullmac, my favourite topic. So we had a very successful meeting in Mission Beach last week. We had over 100 participants. These meetings just continue to grow. Mission Beach isn't the easiest place to get to in North Queensland, so it was a bit of planes, trains and automobiles for us to get there, but very well attended. And the regional waste management plans are a huge topic of conversation within the industry, both for private business and local government. So I'm really looking forward to the briefing later today that's being conducted by the consultants for that project.
Thanks, Councillor Hassel. Speaker against. Any other speakers? Councillor Bonaventura speaking for.
Thank you, thank you, Worship. Just two things. One is our 37 new bin services for the month, and our annual median of 46 tells me that we're looking at approximately 550 new houses for the year, and this again is pointing to strong growth in the Mackay economy. The other one I'd like to mention is the 370 bins that were replaced, and that's pretty common for the year. I think the average there is about 367. But I had a phone call the other day from a resident who just wanted to compliment me on the fact that the system works so well. They made a quick email, a very short email, giving the address and the fact that the bin was damaged. Received a reply. A wheelie bin truck came the following day, and she got home from work that afternoon, and the bin had been replaced. So she rang to say what a very efficient system, and how good it was that it's hassle-free. Didn't have to make any phone calls, didn't have to do anything else, just quick email to council, and away it went. So I just want to ask the director to pass that on to our contractor, because I believe that's purely in our contractor's area to look after that. So just would like that passed on. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Bonaventura. Councillor Jones speaking for.
I just wanted to reiterate what Councillor Hassan said about the War on Waste program, and basically just say that our staff are doing a great job. But I guess really it's about, for me, it's challenging our adults as well. Our kids are our future, and they learn all of these things in kindy and school, and they come home and they talk to their mums and dads. So I challenge parents to actually sit and listen and learn from the kids that are our future, and hope that we can make some difference in the contamination rates that we get as a result of the person that puts the rubbish in the bin is the adult. So I hope the kids come through for us, and we'll just keep chipping away at it. Whoops. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. I think that's at least two cards. Right. Are there any further speakers?
Trained professional.
Councillor Townsend speaking for.
Thank you. I just wanted to touch again on the contaminants that are coming into the recycle bins, and it's disappointing to read the recent statistics that we're still finding contaminants finding their way into our recycle bins, and of 1,701 households, 498 bins were found to have various levels of contamination. So I'd just like to read out what some of these products are that are not meant for the recycle bin. That is plastic bags, used tissues, wipes, paper towels, bubble wrap, disposable nappies, appliances, cigarette butts and toys, textiles and clothing, polystyrene, food, green waste and building materials. That's just a few. So these are the contaminants that our staff have to deal with on a daily basis. So again, I just ask our adults and homeowners to think before they put their items into the recycle bin.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Townsend. Are there any other speakers? No other speakers. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. The Water Services Monthly Review, the last of our ECI. Now it's water.
Thank you, Worship. So there were actually 3 incidents, not the one noted in the summary. Sorry, Councillors. 2 of those related to staff. One was a near miss. But again, on the positive side, we had a couple of our programs achieved their safety recognition, so water networks level 3, and then water and sewage infrastructure planning, the bonus 36 months LTI free, which is really great to see. Water consumption did actually decrease a little bit over October, but we'll be expecting that it's increasing significantly now with the drier weather coming in November. So we obviously see a strong correlation between our drier weather and our water increase going up. And so obviously some of the areas like Marion Moroney, which tend to have larger lot sizes, have that higher increase than say Mackay and Serena. There was 351 work requests achieved, completed for the month. We had 5 staff present at the Australian Water Association state conference in Cairns last month. So it was very pleasing to see those papers up and those staff presenting. And just in relation to Mitch Point, we have had a couple of manganese issues, but pleasing to see that's more on the between Chelsea Creek and the reservoir. So the work we did last year for the reservoir had largely meant that the residents at Mitch Point haven't seen those manganese issues they've traditionally seen. And hopefully going forward, the upgrade to Chelsea Creek treatment plant will deal with that manganese between those sections where we are seeing the issue now. Otherwise, have to take the question.
Thank you very much, Director. Questions for the Director? Councillor Bella.
Page 252, maintenance check discovered battery had exploded in the pump shed. Were any idea of cause for a battery to explode like that? Like, it's not a common thing to happen. Is it?
Yeah.
Was it faulty or was it poorly treated?
I'd have to take that on notice and get some more information, so I'm not aware of if the reason for the cause of that explosion has been identified.
It is concerning because the material in that battery could possibly cause damage to other it's quite aggressive to other equipment in that shed.
Let's take that on notice, Director. Thank you. Further questions for the Director? Further questions? Would somebody like to move then the reports of adoption? Moved by Councillor Singleton, seconded by Councillor Hassett. Thank you. Councillor Singleton.
Thank you, Worship. I've brought your attention.
Turn your phone off, Councillor.
I've always wondered, research a bit on this water loss around Mackay and my HCO, and the figures I got here for the 12 months, or from January to November, there's only been 168 new residents signed up for my H2O, but the biggest figure is water replacement meters have come to 4,262. As data is now being received from these replaced meters, whereas data was not being received previously and leaks were not being identified or reported. Between residential and non-residential lost water due to leaks totals 43,869 kilolitres for October. So that's meant to say if you're a resident in the new with a new meter and advised to join up to My H2O. My H2O is a free setup for council, and it will detect any lost water due to leaks, and that it will not cost you nothing. And because of the high price of living now, extra pressure on you with an extra water bill will send a lot of people over the top. So if you haven't signed up, My H2O, it's free, so go online now and sign up today.
Thank you very much, Councillor Seymour. Well spoken. Speaker against? Any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. And Org Services Monthly Review for October. Director.
Good morning, Director. Safety continues to be a focus of the department with no new LTI reported in the past 7 months. The Building Services team have been working with other areas of council to develop a campaign for the electronic delivery of notices. This will coincide with the issue of notices in February 2023. Customer service team continues to achieve outstanding customer satisfaction results, with 96% of completed surveys indicating that our external customers were highly satisfied with the service provided. The abandoned call result was high due to resource availability, and this has been monitored. October has seen a significant reduction in turnover, and the number of active vacancies continues to reduce, but are still high. Active vacancies relate to positions that are actively being recruited to. Total vacancies will always be higher due to a number of reasons, including roles being on hold, transitions to retirement, and other factors. With the onset of hot weather, our aquatic facilities have seen an increase in attendances. These are expected to continue to increase over the summer months. The property service team continue to work closely with the various operators of our facility to ensure the best experience for users. A big shout out to our information services team who continue to ensure application availability above the KPI target, even due to an unplanned incident in the server room during October and a lightning strike taking out our communications to Serena in 2 days. So yeah, that was a big effort for those guys. October saw the local spend percentage reach 83%, which is the highest it has been for over the past 12 months. This accounts for over $18.9 million being spent with local businesses. Work continues on some significant projects for the organisation, including the LTFF Capital Prioritisation Project and the HRS-HRE projects.
Thank you, Director. Are there questions? Councillor Mann has a question.
Yep. I wanted to talk about the abandoned call rate and the average time to answer a call being 3 minutes 21 seconds. That seems to go up all the time, or we seem to have issues there over the last couple of months. So I just want to know whether we're adequately resourcing the call centre. And I know that there might be unplanned absences, but we have fully trained people who can call on as backup.
Okay, Director.
We did have a few issues during the month that took a few of our call centre staff offline, which was unfortunate, but I'm hoping that we get back on track in the next.
Councillor Ballard has a question.
With the much publicised hacking of a couple of large organisations, have we actually had discussions as to our response to a situation such as that for our organisation? I note in listening that they're talking about legislation to preclude companies from paying ransoms. I also heard that there is a massively increased assault on us, sourced from a couple of well-publicised nations. It is alarming to me, and I'd like to know, as I said, have we spoken about a response? And if we were asked to recover our data, unlock or whatever, to pay, what would our response be?
I don't think we've discussed that as an executive leadership team. Cybersecurity remains a high risk in our risk register. We are doing as much as we can on the system side to combat cybersecurity, and our systems are now top-notch as best they can be. We always have the issue of people. We can't control people who may click on a malicious link, but hopefully we've got enough system protections in the background to protect that data. But in terms of what we would do in the event of attack, we've got a business continuity plan in place to address if our systems go down, but not necessarily whether we pay a ransom.
Have we actually been in contact with the AFP or anyone like that with a view to their advice in that situation in a proactive sense?
We talk to cybersecurity experts all the time to make sure that we are doing all we can from a system side of view. We haven't necessarily
Okay. Further questions? Councillor Jones. Councillor Jones.
Townsend was first. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Director. I was just looking at the aquatic facilities on 287. Morani Pool showed in October 21 4,888, and for October this year 591. So I'm just wondering if that's right and if there's a sharp decline.
I'll have to check. There could have been an event held at the pool at that time that wasn't replicated in the following year, but I'll have to take that on notice.
Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to follow on from what Councillor Bella just said. You know, we're all board members around this table, and I'm wondering whether or not, you know, we work in the space of strategy and we need to understand risk. I'm wondering if it's possible for the Director to send the risk register to the councillors just for our information so that we can actually have a look at what is on our risk register.
Director.
I'm going to pass over to the Executive Officer who looks after risk.
So we have an audit and risk advisory committee, as you know.
Yeah.
Councillor Bella sits on as well.
Worship, we can certainly distribute that, but there was a briefing last week with the other corporate groups,
Further questions? Councillor Seymour has a question.
It's in page 273, it says potential exposure to herbicides, spraying chemicals. Was there an exposure or was there potential?
Director? Yeah.
I believe there was an incident at the Blue Water Lagoon where they were spraying pesticides on the garden while the facilities were open. We changed the procedure there that doesn't happen while the facility is open, so that will mitigate that risk.
No worries.
Councillor May.
Just in relation to page 281 and the monthly recruitment, I note there in the report that it says there's 189 vacant positions, but we only recruited 36 of those positions. I suppose my question is there a point in time where we analyse all of those vacant positions and just make a decision as to whether they are still necessary or not? Is that something that the department does?
Yes, we've actually done it in the last week.
Okay.
That number was quite high, I was concerned, why we're holding all these vacancies.
Yep.
So I've asked all the other directors to give me information, like review all those vacancies line by line and tell me, yeah, if they're needed or what stage of the recruitment process or what are we doing with those positions, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor England.
Just to follow on from that, Mayor, it was pointed out to me by another councillor that when you look at, SEEK and all that sort of stuff, there's between 40 and 50 actual, we're looking for people, but like, even if you revise that down to 100 actual, jobs, like, so I'm trying to understand where we've got 100 positions to fill, we're only advertising 50. I'd like to understand why we're not advertising those other 50, as in, we just don't have the resources to process those through, or, I don't need the answer now, but...
Well, Director, you might be able to answer that.
I can answer some of it because some of them are in different stages of the recruitment process, so they may no longer be advertised, but we're going through shortlisting, interviewing, pre-employment checks. So they're still showing as a vacancy because we haven't quite filled them, but they're no longer being advertised.
Anyway, I suppose I'd like to understand what the current time frame is to employ someone for the organisation. We've previously discussed that it can take several months, and in that time period people go, well, stuff this, I can get a job somewhere else. I'd like to understand how we're battling. That's a big problem for us. We're behind the eight ball compared to other organisations, and our governance is more and transparency is important, as it should be. So I understand we're a bit slower than everyone else, but I'd like to understand how slow.
We have a timeline. We say should all be done from start to finish in 12 weeks. Sometimes we achieve quicker than that. Other times it's a bit longer. Depends on how much notice period people have to give, how long checks have to take if we have to wait on some information, how long it's advertised for. It can be anything from a week to 4 weeks, depending on if you want to leave it open longer to attract more people, or are you going to do a short campaign to see what you get. So there's some of the differences that can be, but we are starting to track that and we should be able to report on that in the future. We're just having to gather the data a bit manually at the moment, so yeah, we'll be able to report that and see if the trend is.
Well, I guess that's a good report for us to receive, because the questions around the time frame between an application or an application of a job vacancy and filling it.
Yeah.
So,
There's no one answer, but we can keep the trend.
a snapshot of that in the future would be good.
Thank you.
Further questions? No further questions? Would somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Townsend moves. Councillor Hassan seconds. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to acknowledge our customer services team who responded to 7,317 calls in October. This equates to 366 calls per day, which is a great effort by anyone's standards. 52% of customer inquiries were resolved at first contact, which is a good effort. And of course our staff did experience unexpected challenges during this time, like the server going up in flames, lightning strikes. So despite these challenges, our staff still performed to a high standard. and achieved excellent customer service satisfaction results. So well done to our customer service team for another month of outstanding results. It is great to see our aquatic facilities are being well utilised by our community, with the Memorial Pool, Pioneer Pool and the Mark all seeing great attendances for the month of October. And as the Director said, our current weather conditions are perfect for the Blue Water Lagoon, and we welcomed 28,994 attendees for the month. These figures are only going to increase with the lead up to school holidays and the Christmas season. And it was really good to see that housing development continues to grow in our region, with 139 new building applications being launched by private certifiers and 162 development plumbing applications being lodged during the month of October. This certainly instills confidence in our local community for investors and families considering relocating to our region.
Thank you very much, Councillor Townsend. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Receipt of petitions 12.1. The provision of a bus shelter at Primavera Boulevard. Anything else straightforward? Any questions based around that? The officer's recommendations: the petition be received, refer to the CEO to a report to council which investigates the issues identified within the petition. Somebody like to move? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor Green. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. I'm happy to move the motion for the petition today. Residents have been speaking to me about this, and there's been an issue over many, many years in not being able to come to resolve with this. So this petition will bring things to a head for them. They're truly impacted by the lack of a covered bus shelter in the area. I have had some extra information which I've passed on to all councillors on 2 occasions. And I just look forward to this coming back to the table. Thank you, Worship.
Speaker against? Councillor Ballard, you're speaking for?
Yeah, I'm really commenting on the quality of the petition. It's good to see. I prefer these paper petitions to online petitions. You can look through and look at the addresses of the people that have signed this. They are people that live almost exclusively very close to where they're asking for the covering. These people definitely have skin in the game, as opposed to, as we've seen with online petitions, where you can get someone from the UK commenting on something that's occurring just down the road here in Mackay, and I don't think that has any validity whatsoever. So congratulations to the people that have signed this.
Councillor Ballard, any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Tenders at 13.1. Tender number 74042 for telemetry upgrades. Any questions around this one? No questions? Nothing to add, CEO? Nothing to add, Director? No? Okay, would somebody like to move the adoption of that tender? Receipt of that tender? That's Councillor England moves, Councillor May seconds. Councillor England.
Thank you, Worship. Council has control of around 200 sewage pump stations across Mackay. This is a software, the Mackay region, this is a software upgrade, not only to increase reliability requirements, operational safety, but to meet new legislation requirements. The tenders come back as Comlec Group as the successful tenderer, as the most advantageous outcome to council, completing the job for around $380,000.
Thank you very much. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Tender number 016 then for Mackay CBD and Central Footpath reconstruction for Milton Street to Peel Street, Peel Street to Wellington Street, McAllister to Gregory, Gregory Street to Wood Street on the north side, and Milton Street and James Street. Any questions? No questions. Somebody like to move the adoption? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor Mann. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. Happy to go with the officer's recommendation, Your Worship. It certainly is value for money. The silo constructions have been around our town for a long time. They're well known and they do good work. So the opportunity to upgrade some very old footpaths and the need to meet access requirements for our residents is a very positive outcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor May speaking for.
Yes, thank you very much, Worship. Yes, so there's 6 footpaths on the list here, but what I wanted to draw people's attention to was the the over cost in this as opposed to our budget. And I mentioned that in the strategic financial reports. We've seen it in the previous tender that we just accepted as well. So this is why we need to monitor what is going on in this space. The cost of materials, the delivery of services are significant budget implications for us.
Thanks very much, Councillor May. Any other speakers? Put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. There's no notified motions. Public participation. We've got 3 registered to participate today. Thank you very much for attending today, ladies and gentlemen. The rules of engagement are that this is your opportunity to speak in front of council for 3 minutes from the public gallery. This is not an interaction session. Council is here to listen to you, and if there's a requirement for us to go back to you, it'll be done through the CEO. So Mr. Smith is the first, and we're speaking on climate change, I think, Mr. Rod Smith. Has he just gone? Okay, so we've got 2 participating. Okay, Rhonda Marriage. Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you. My name's Rhonda Marriage, I live in Mackay, and I'm part of the Worldwide Rally for Freedom Mackay. The matter I wish to speak about today is the Pioneer Burdekin Pumped Hydro Project. In September 2022, Queensland Hydro publicly announced that the Pioneer Valley and adjacent ranges had been identified as a possible site for a pumped hydro energy storage facility. As you can imagine, this announcement has brought unimaginable anxiety, stress and despair to not only the residents of Neverdale and Youngla, but also to residents in the entire Pioneer Valley, right down to the mouth of our Pioneer River. Many of these affected families are generational landowners, many are new landowners. Some have family businesses in the valley. Nonetheless, all concerned received absolutely no consideration or respect from Queensland Government in the handling of the situation. Queensland Hydro has not even done any environmental impact studies or geotechnical investigations. Neither have they done any social and cultural assessments or studies. In fact, they state that these studies and assessments will commence in February 2023. Many residents consider that the unique and varied ecosystems of our beautiful Pioneer Valley should be kept pristine and never be destroyed. The undeniable value of the flora and fauna of this whole area is without question. Our fortunes are considerable having this beautiful area in our valley. I believe I have a good understanding of the concept of the pumped hydro system. However, our Neverdale Youngla area, indeed our whole valley, is not the place to be desecrated in its construction. There are concerns that Dalrymple Road is slip country and is not suitable for the construction of large reservoirs of water required for the construction of, required for the project. There are concerns for the residents living below the intended project site should the dam walls have construction and or safety issues. I've lived and worked in Mackay Serena area since 1975. I've visited Neverdale Youngla area on many occasions, taking friends and visitors to show them how absolutely unique and beautiful this area is, and know full well the enormous part this area has for our tourism industry. Myself and others have attended Queensland Hydro information sessions on many occasions and have been confronted with Queensland Hydro staff unable to answer our questions. We have attended Neverdale Youngla local community meetings to show our support and hear the raw emotions, both mentally and physically, that these residents are suffering from. On the 25th of October 2022, we received correspondence from Mayor Greg Williamson, and appreciate that, that Council has had no input into the development of this project, and as per his suggestion that we pose our questions directly to the State Government, we have done so. However, we would like to know, after further consideration, what Council's stand is on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Smith, you've come back. You're first on the list.
No, Mr. Smith.
Oh, you're not. Right. You're not Mr. Smith then?
No, Mr.
Okay, well, Mr. Smith's not here, I take it. Right. So the only other one registered is Ms. Keys, Christine Keys. Thank you. And you're speaking on same thing.
A letter that we sent to Councillor and Mayors from Worldwide Rally for Freedom, Mackay, regarding Mackay's involvement in smart cities.
In the response we received, dated 4th November, you stated some things we as a group wish to address. Firstly, you said that the libraries have been supporting the 17 United Nations Sustainable Goals since 2019 and laid the responsibility for this firmly at the feet of the State Library of Queensland. However, since the local council funds the libraries, it's quite perceivable that if the danger of involvement with the United Nations were recognised by council as a threat to the people, council would have the power to stop this program. You also stated that the council has no smart city agenda, nor does it intend for us to become part of the One World government. However, up until recently, when it was removed, the Mackay Regional Council website actually stated that Mackay is part of the Smart City agenda. We would like to know if Council has removed Mackay from its program or if we are still a part of it, as Mackay's involvement is clearly referred to in several documents. For example, Mackay is mentioned in the Australian Government's Smart Cities Plan document. Another example is taken from the Mackay Regional Council's monthly review of 30th September 2021, which states, Council has an ongoing commitment to raising awareness of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals across our region. It is our understanding that this is one and the same as the Smart City Agenda, which is hand in hand with the One World Government. At the C40 Smart Cities Mayor Summit 2022, several very disturbing goals were discussed. The establishment of the 15-minute city. This goal is to have residents live, work, study, shop, play, socialise and die never more than 15 minutes from their residential prescribed area. Meat consumption per individual per year, 0. Dairy or derivative consumption per individual per year, 0. Privately owned vehicles per person, 0. And the list of restrictive cloistering requirements continues. We would like to think our mayor and councillors have the integrity and fortitude to work in the interests of the people to ensure this concentration camp lifestyle is never introduced into Mackay. And in closing, I want to say I've been sitting here contemplating why our Australian flag is displayed back to front on the wall of council chambers.
Thank you, Ms Keys. All right, no further public participation. No late business, councillors. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Richard. I just wanted to talk about an event that's happening at Youngler on the weekend, hosted by the Youngler Community Development Association. And there's actually, I've been asked to officiate at a commemorative event to celebrate Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, so 70 years of service. The event will engage the community in a planting ceremony where 70 native trees will be planted in an area set aside at the hub to be known as the Queen's Jubilee Park Memorial. This is a federal government initiative and anybody could participate, so ECTA actually made sure that they were really passionate about it and wanted to be involved. The event will have two elements: to dedicate the park through the unveiling of a plaque and to highlight the significance of the planting to the community and to highlight its perpetual value as a reminder of Her Majesty's milestone of service. It's a privilege to be asked to officiate, and that was for two reasons: my connection with the Valley for a long time, having grown up there, but also my connection with ECTA and my participation with them. And it will be an event to honour the Queen and her lifetime of service.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mann. Further late business? Councillor Hassan.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to highlight that the 25th of November is the beginning of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And this is an annual campaign, international campaign that, as I said, kicks off on the 25th of November, which is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And that runs through 16 days until the 10th of December, which is Human Rights Day. So this campaign was started by activists at the inauguration of the Women's Global Leadership Summit in 1991. And during the 16 days of activism, people around the world will unite to raise awareness about gender-based violence, to challenge discriminatory attitudes and call for improved laws and services to end violence against women for good, hopefully. In 2022, the campaign has a dedicated focus on ending femicide, which is also referred to as the gender-related killing of women and girls, which continues right now around the world. Violence against women is a global problem, and obviously it requires global action. Zonta International has participated in this event for many years, and the Zonta Club of Mackay, of which myself and Councillor Mann are both current members, continues to also participate, hence our bright orange wear today, and a couple of our other councillors have chosen to also participate. So this year you're going to see our orange women, so we have some timber orange women that'll be around town in various locations. We will have some here this morning. And this will just is to draw people's attention to the 16 days of activism. So ask people to get involved. If you see them around, they will have information on the orange women. Take your photos and post them online. There'll also be information sharing on our social media pages, so please engage with the Zonta Club of Mackay. But violence against women isn't inevitable, and it is preventable. So I encourage people to tell your families, educate your children through schools, our communities and workplaces, and together we can amplify this message and make sure that our voices are heard and violence against women and children can be ended.
Well said. Thank you very much, Councillor Hassan. Further late business? Anybody else got late business? Councillor Bonaventura.
Thank you, Worship. I'd just like to mention our senior school students have just completed their schooling, and this marks a milestone in their lives. And look, many of them will be sweating on their ATR results, or ATAR results, should I say, to get them into the uni course of their choice. Others will be out there to join the workforce, and as you know, councillors, we certainly can use more people in the workforce. Today we have my nephew, Indiana, who hails from Brisbane here, and he's just finished his schooling. Look, to Indiana and to all the graduates, I say congratulations on their efforts so far, and good luck in achieving your goals into the future.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Bonaventura. I know a number of us have been to speech. I've been to 4 so far, so speech nights, and it's a great cohort that are graduating this year. Fantastic results so far. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Worship. I'd just like to take this opportunity to acknowledge our CEO, acting CEO, who's been in the role for a number of months now, since February, and this will be her last council meeting as our acting CEO. I think, personally, I think she's done a fantastic job in leading this organisation over that period of time. It has not been an easy job, and it's been a very testing time, as we know, financially, as well as resources, as well as COVID, and a whole other range of things that go across your desk. So I publicly wanted to acknowledge and thank you for the great job that you've done in steering this ship over that period of time. And of course, we take the opportunity to welcome our new CEO, Scott Owens, who starts on Monday.
Yeah, thanks very much. That's echoed by us all, CEO.
Don't get anything
business?
for it?
What's that?
They haven't got a present for us, huh?
I think we'll shout a bunch. Let's move on.
It's a bit tight for the
Okay, Councillor Green, did you have late business?
Yes, thank you. So last Thursday, I had the pleasure with a number of other councillors to visit St Francis Xavier Catholic Primary School, along with a very special guest, Jonathan Thurston, not Justin, as I introduced myself to him. I wish the floor had opened up at that moment. I was a little bit starstruck, I think. So Jonathan was there on behalf of the Get Ready Queensland team because there were 2,000 participants and 65 entries that went into the Get Ready Queensland competition, and 4 grade 6 students from St Francis Xavier won that competition, which meant they got a visit from JT and the team. Our own Carla Duck from Council also participated in the presentation and had the kids really engaged, learning about the 3 C's to being emergency prepared and looking out for their neighbours. It was a great morning. It went on to celebrate our emergency services personnel who were out there in force with their equipment and many other activities throughout the morning. So congratulations to the school, and I think it was a really, really great morning. Thank you.
I've never seen so many excited young people. JT gets that everywhere he goes, but that was unbelievable to see. Fantastic. Okay, further late business? Councillor Barrow.
I attended the presentation night for Serena, and there's one thing that was very, very heartening to me was to see that a couple of my people, I call them that, the young people that I coach, the All Abilities side, actually were recipients of awards. We were downstairs with the Special Olympians. And I think what it shows is that, that's the approach I take with that coaching, is that really they are capable of achieving. It is merely a matter of changing the way that we provide for them to achieve. My approach has always been, I understand the problems and the behaviours, but I accept good behaviour and achievement, and I don't accept bad. It's a matter of steering, assisting and guiding. Everyone needs a chance to win. We've provided that opportunity, and by the same token, everyone needs an opportunity to lose, because through losing you learn to cope with losing, and losing is part of life. So I would hope that in some way the people that have assisted, I've got to give a huge shout to the QRL staff here in Mackay and the cutters, in some way what we have been involved in and providing has in some way assisted a couple of those people that have achieved, I've got to say, academically as well as in a physical sense. So really, I'm just congratulating them on their performance, that's all.
Thanks, Councillor Bella. And we add the council's congratulations to that. It was lovely to see a morning tea this morning where councillors attended to celebrate, as Councillor Bella said, a couple of the people who have been in Serena as well, attending Launceston as part of Mackay Special Olympics, Mackay Fire Special Olympics, and coming away with a whole lot of medals. And we paid particular attention to and celebrated Kimberly Doyle, who's been also a treasure in our community, who does the same sort of thing in coaching and does it all from her voluntary service. Has been an absolutely outstanding result for us. And we believe a couple going to the World Games. So, no, we're not allowed to say that. Okay. All right. Any further late business? No further late business? Councillors, we have a number of confidential items to consider. I think there's a requirement to go in. So would somebody like to move that we close the meeting to the public? Councillor Jones moves, Councillor Mann seconds. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. So we'll just skip
Still here. Good job.
Thanks, councillors. 17.1, are we back on? Back on? 17.1, which is the approved concessions under the Facilitating Development of Mackay Region Policy October 2022. So we'd like to move. Councillor Mann moves, seconded by Councillor Hassan. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. 17.2, the approved sponsorship under the Invest Mackay Events Attraction and Conference Attraction Program for October 22. So Councillor Green moves, Councillor May seconds. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. The draft minutes of the Invest Mackay Events and a Conference Attraction Program Advisory Committee meeting on the 14th of November. Councillor May moves, Councillor Mann seconds. We've had a discussion on this. I'm happy to forecast that there will be a motion following this, but I'm happy to accept. So I'll put this motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried with Councillor Jones moving against. I'm happy to accept another motion now if somebody wants to frame that motion.
Happy to move.
Okay, Councillor Bonaventura moves. That, you got that down there.
The council would like further information at item 8.3 at a council briefing session before the funding decision is finalised.
Happy with that, Councillor Bonaventura?
I am.
Seconded by Councillor Bella. Councillor Bonaventura, do you wish to speak to that motion?
No.
Okay, I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, thanks very much for that. Rating concession request at 17.4 for lots 37 and 38 Dolphin Heads. Somebody like to move? Councillor Mann moves, seconded by Councillor Hassan. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. 17.5, the rating concession requests for those lots at Dolphin Heads. Somebody like to move? Councillor Mann moves, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, CEO. And as this is your last meeting, CEO, it's already been said and eloquently by the Deputy Mayor, but can I add my thanks to you for the work that you've done since February, and it's been an absolute pleasure. We know that you'll fulfil your role in council now as you've always done, but these last number of months have been fantastic to have you stand as chair. And I echo what Councillor May and the councillors have said in their acclamation. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you for the last month since February. So well done. Thanks very much. All right.
You get a present now?
Yeah, we're taking you to lunch.
I declare the meeting closed.